Hi, this is Matt with the second follow-up on the iCar. I've taken some video from the car itself and gotten them posted, and thought it might be interesting to take a look around the outside of the car. The car is a laser cut kit. It comes with trucks and it comes with couplers. It comes with the KD whisker couplers, which is the first time I used these and real pleased with that. They're simple to use. It comes with intermountain trucks and wheel sets. The kit is designed well. It fits together very tightly, almost too tightly in some places, which is normal for laser cut kits. So you might have to take a sanding stick and open some of the tabs and slots up as needed. The one thing I noticed about the kit as it came is it's very dirty. All the cuts are quite sooty, so unless you want to get the car dirty, it's a good idea to either spray a fixative on there to fix all the soot in place. I chose to do it by using a sanding stick, part assembly of course, and just took 20 or 30 minutes and got all the edges sanded clean enough that no soot would come off. That's certainly not a cabinet grade finish or anything, but I'm not getting any dirt on my fingers, so I'm happy with that. So the car itself is made up of basically three components. You got the cradle, which holds the phone, the mirror assembly, and that's movable. The main thing I use it for is to make sure I'm looking straight down the track. The third component are the platforms. You'll see here that there is no continuous frame on this kit. And what that means is that these platforms, these trucks, will not be naturally in the same plane. And instructions address this. You need to make sure that once you attach the platform subassembly to the cradle, you want to run up a square up against that to make sure that everything is square. Do the same thing at the opposite end. And theoretically what that means is you'll have both of these on the same plane, and the cradle itself will be square with the platforms. I ran this on 3 layouts after I assembled it using that method, and it ran fine. It was very stable. I was very impressed with it. But it turned out, long story short, that my car was still a little bit out of square. So when addressing that, I actually came up with an alternative way to assemble this, that if I were to do another one, I would do this instead of the instructed way. And let me show you real quick how that works. Let me take the trucks off first. What I would do differently is not assemble the center sill to the platform, leave the platform by itself. And when it came time to attach that to the cradle, I attach it by its lonesome and get a couple blocks out like this. These blocks are decent finished wood, so they're pretty flat. So this is flat to the work surface I have here. And then just after you do a dry fit, of course, place the platforms onto the cradle, and then put the platforms on this wood. Make sure they're both flat. Both ends are flat. So then you know that these things are in the same plane. Once you know that, then you can slide in here with a square and make sure that the cradle itself is square to the platforms. So it's just in three moves, and you're done. The other thing that's worth mentioning as far as cheats while we're talking about that is when assembling these layered approaches, it's always good to have something to help you along. So I did a couple of cheats. One was to use 1/16 inch drill bits to align everything. The other was to use a 1/72 screw. So once you apply your glue to these various layers, apply to one layer, run the screw through, attach the other layer. The screw will index to the next layer, so you know you're lined up. Screw that in. Now you have a screw that's accomplishing two things. It indexes and it's serving as a clamp, and on and so forth. Screwed in the third layer. And now you have a 3-layer sandwich. It's nicely done. Later, when the platform and the cradle assemblies are dry, you can come back and just attach the center sill to the cradle and run that screw the rest of the way in. So next I guess we need to find out how it works with the phone. Let me get this stuff out of the way. I'm putting it in, taking it out, dirt simple, just a simply open cradle. And so you just drop the phone in with the lens facing the engineer's side. And once it's in, it's also easy to take out. It's just simply the best way to do it is just to pour it out. You can try to lift it while it's on the track, but you will end up with just a derailed iCar and have to pick the car up anyway. So just pick it up and dump it out if you need to do that. Once it's in the cradle, you have access to all the hard keys. So the home button's right there. The power button is accessible right there. The microphone and speaker have access to the atmosphere, and even the volume buttons do, although this is just more of a relief to allow the phone to sit flat. Obviously you can't reach in there, turn the volume up and down, or take pictures with that key while the thing's on the track. Soft keys also are accessible. Let me turn this back on. Alright, so we're in record mode right now, and oops, our mirror is in the way. There we go. You can see the adjustment for the mirror. Move that around. If you want to toggle to playback, you can get in there. You can easily access that. If you want to toggle back to record, sure, no problem. You can reach that. Delete key is the same place that one of the toggle buttons is. That's easy to reach. One thing I have done to make this a little easier is to put some scallops into the cradle. That makes it easier to get my thumb onto that key. And I've also done that for the power key as well. A little harder to see, but there it is. I've got a couple of things planned for this in the future, near future. One is, I've noticed that when taking some video, every now and then I'll get a jiggle. And initially I attribute that to the trucks and or the fact that it has a kind of a high center of gravity. But just poking around with this last week, and it occurred to me that there's a fair amount of slop in there. Cradle is about 4/10 of an inch across the opening, and the phone, so you can see here we got almost exactly 4/10 of an inch, and the phone is less than that. It's about there we go. It's about 25 thousandths less, maybe a little less, 22 thousandths less than that. So obviously I have some slack to take up. So today put together a couple of shims, which is not a real hard task to do. And it started out as 30 thousandths scribed siding, and sand that down to about 22 thousandths, and that will go in this corner, and the other one will go in the corner opposite the lens in the front. And with those guys in there, you can see that the camera is much more stable. Very nice. Nice. The last thing I've thought of so far is regarding retention of the device. There will come a time when somebody will have an iCar with their iPhone in it, and they will derail and they will fall through the benchwork in one of those unfinished areas. So I want to create a retention contraption to keep that phone in here, and as in addition to that, I want to create a bumper down at this end of the car, so that if the car were to fall upside down this way, of course right now the phone would fall out and hit first. So I don't want that to happen. So that's the retention. I want to have a high point here so that if the car were to hit this corner, it doesn't hit the phone. It hits maybe wood that's maybe an eighth of an inch higher or so than the rest of the car. The rest of the angles I think are pretty well protected. If it falls this way, the nose is going to hit, of course tail as well. If it hits on the front, the mirror, which is quite a bit higher. Sorry about turning around here. Here we go. The mirror is quite a bit higher than the rest of the cradle, so if that hits there, that also forms a bumper of some sort. If I break the mirror, so what? I want to protect the device. So that's my next project on here. That's it. Fun device. Great for taking to your buddies' layouts and doing some recording. And I should mention that this This is the iPhone 4. It also fit the iPhone 4S. And there is a sleeve that is in production now, so that you can put a iPod Touch in and an iPod Nano 5, if I have that right. I don't know my Nanos that well. And there's also in development, there's one for the iPhone 3GS. So the guys that are 2 generations back, you're going to have your opportunity as well. Alright, thanks guys. Okay, I made this change I referred to earlier in the video, and finally came up with a retention contraption I'll describe here in a moment. First of all, as you can see, the shims have been fastened in place. This is the fireman's rear side, the engineer's rear of the car, and there's also an equivalent one behind this A-pillar, I guess, on the fireman's front side. They are just enough of a shim to control the motion of the phone as it goes in. It doesn't go all the way down, just seat the rest of the way. I like that. Turning it over also has some control. It doesn't fall out right away. Just give it a little tug and out it comes. So I'm happy with that. The retention is, after messing around with a couple of different ideas, finally occurred to me after discovering this rod in my styrene spares box. After discovering that, of course I wanted the bumper back here to describe that. This is higher than the rest of the car, so it'll hit first before it fall upside down. I drilled an 1/8 inch hole in that. I also drilled an 1/8 inch hole in the front, which required me to modify the frame of the iCar just a tad, because the drill hole goes through that. And there's a extra layer of micro plywood on the front to brace that corner and to provide the retention point. It's straightforward. The tubing just goes through one end, and that's a pretty loose fit. And then the far end has a nice tight friction fit. So that's tight enough that it's not going to come out while the car is on track. And it's going to stay in place if the car were to fall. It works very well. Turn it upside down and give it a good shake, and you can see it's not coming out. And pull it up and down, you can see that retention, the 1/8 inch rod arcing. So it's doing its job. We're happy with that. Thanks.